Ayo, episode number 13, I believe, in my 21 episode podcast challenge. And yeah, let's get it done today. I wanted to come in and mainly talk about a book that I'm kind of reading, and just because I feel like I've had some good reflections from it, and or it kind of ties into basically this whole concept of achieving goals and doing big things and all of that stuff. And the book's actually the Magic of Thinking Big, and it's just been a really great book. So I just want to kind of come in um, and really just talk about it, because I feel like this book emphasizes that your mindset and the size of your thinking basically has a direct influence on your achievements. And basically when you think bigger, you're actually pushing the, like, once you think bigger, you actually end up achieving more, because you realize what's actually possible when you start to think bigger. And that's something that I feel like I've really done, and I've always wanted to be pushing my limits. And I feel like reading this book, this is the second time I've actually read it. I read it like 5-6 years ago, and now I wanted to kind of just reread it, because sometimes I feel like you can always up level. Like, you think big for the time frame and life that you're in, but then now that I'm reflecting and reading it all over again, I feel like now I'm a more capable and have more skills and have learned a lot over the years, that now I'm even more capable of thinking even bigger than what I was thinking, say, like 5 years ago when I read it the first time. So when it came to thinking big, like, for example, back then I was thinking about how I can get promoted in my job, and I was like, man, if I think that big, like, how big could I think? Like, if I'm the leader here, how can I get to that executive level? And like, that was like, what do I have to do to get that promotion and get that raise? And obviously I've done races and runs and fitness and all of that stuff, and I was like, man, if I push myself in this way, if I can think that I'm capable of this, what is possible? And it's just like, those are the things that I was thinking back then. But now, my as I've grown and developed more and more, my thinking has elevated, and now I'm thinking even bigger. I'm like, okay, how can I leverage my time to get more skills to then 5-10 years from now be able to, like, have a skill set that is, I get more bang for my buck, and I have the highest leverage possible to say, make more money, or have more influence, or impact more people, or build a level of wealth where I'm the most comfortable. And I've learned more about money, and I've learned more about just people in general, and relationships, and all of those things. And have a direct correlation to my thinking on why it's developed over the years, is because I always continue to think bigger. I think in what can I accomplish, and it's been a really, really good thing for me, because I am, again, a type of person who really likes pushing himself. And I feel like thinking big sometimes can seem overwhelming or scary, but at the end of the day, that's where growth happens. Is because you can think, like, thinking that you can do things and living within your limits and all of that stuff it's comfortable. You know you can do the things when you, like, when it's, those are like the times when it's just immediate, and you know it's possible, and it's not a challenge. But when you really, really think big and you don't know if it's something you could do, but that's when it elevates your limits, and that's when it really makes you become more, because thinking in realistic terms, like, I've just always been a person who doesn't like to be realistic in a way. Like, I like when people tell me I'm crazy in a way where, like, of accomplishments and big goals and big dreams, because that's where I know I kind of like to set myself apart. Like, I want to be, they say, like, once someone says you're crazy or you're too obsessed or you're too much in something, that's actually where you gain the advantage. And I always like being in that term, in that thought process, because I know that that's just my limit. Like, those are limitations that other people have, and I want to be able to push past those limitations for myself. And I think it's really, really fun. But that's just kind of the main concept of this book, is how can you push your limits and push your thinking to just achieve more, because thinking big isn't just about setting big goals. It's a mindset of constant growth and possibility. It's not just, oh, I think big because I set really big goals. It's basically just, it's a lifestyle. It's thinking big is just, there's no end. It's just, you keep pushing, you keep growing, you keep thinking bigger. And that's where, I guess, some benefits where this comes in is you always have something that you're pushing for, so you always have a new motivation and a new focus on something you can grow towards. But also through that, when I see someone who's just like pure greatness, if you watch like a LeBron or a Steph Curry or a Cristiano Ronaldo or a Messi or a Simone Biles or Usain Bolt, or like just these people who are just like undeniable how great they truly are. It just, when you think big like that and you pursue growth and greatness, it gives you the opportunity to be that inspiration for someone else. And I think that's a blessing that comes from thinking big, is because your limits define you, but if you constantly push your limits and show what's possible, then other people are like, wow, I can't believe he did that, or she did that. And she did that, and like, what? That's insane, or like, that's crazy. And it's like, oh, wait, they work full time. How do they just do that? Or like, oh, they're just like me, or like, we're all just people and we're all just humans. Like, at the end of the day, we all have the same 24 hours. And yes, obviously some people have better zip codes and better housing and different ways of growing up and all that stuff. But basically, just, we all have the same amount of time in a day, and we can always up-level our level of thinking. So I think, given that opportunity of being the type of person who thinks bigger, also gives you the opportunity to inspire others to think bigger, because you have such a bold vision for yourself. And then obviously it all comes down to like the progress and not the perfection, and everything that we kind of talked about in that episode last time. But some other things that you can try to apply when you're thinking about thinking bigger is, when you think about a goal, think about a way of saying like, oh, what if I doubled this? Because it's like, oh, okay, if like, all right, so my 10,000 push-ups, I was like, all right, what if I did 1,000 push-ups? And I was like, it's not that hard. Maybe if let's do 10,000. I was like, oh man, that's some big thinking. I don't know if that's possible. I did the math and I was like, 360 something push-ups a day. It's possible. I could probably do it, but like just that limit of thinking bigger, just that's why I pushed it. That's why I went to 10,000. It's like, so say you're in sales and you're like, all right, I want to do 40 calls today and I want to set 5 appointments. What if you're like, actually today, I'm going to do 80 calls. I'm going to set 10 appointments. Like what can you do to push that boundary and truly think bigger? Another thing that's kind of like applicable to do in daily life is surround yourself with positive or ambitious people. Like just try and network and get in the door with people who just think a bit bigger. Like how can you get into rooms where you're surrounded by people who elevate your level of thinking or are smarter or more wealthy or more fit or anything like that? Because when you surround yourself with ambitious people, it's just kind of a given that you will become more ambitious. So that's another thing. And then another talking point I would say is breaking down, again, when you think big, then do what I gave examples of the smaller episodes where you just break that huge goal into tiny little actionable steps that get you closer and closer every day. And of course, like there's going to be setbacks and failures and self-doubt within thinking big, but when you doubt yourself, it's kind of a really important thing to have positive self-talk, but also really good reflection and growth in your self-awareness, because you can reflect on what went wrong and what you need to grow, and it can get a little bit easier for the next time. So sorry I keep yawning, this is so annoying. Yeah, I think like the reflection is where self-doubt can be a growth strategy, because we all have self-doubt and we all wonder if we're capable of things, but reflection is where I find I destroy my self-doubt. It's like if I can reflect and just like, you know what, like if I did 80 calls, I have a feeling I could at least set 5 appointments. But if I could go for 10. If I reflect on that, it's like, but then the second I start doubting and getting negative, you spiral downwards. So like, I always find ways to try and spiral upwards and find that tiniest little win that makes me think positively. Let's see what else here. I guess I can even try and find some of the things. Right. I guess in this book you can always just think bigger in everything, like relationships, friendships. It's all mindset, it's a lifestyle again, where you think big, you achieve more. Life gets better when you live an easy life. Your life is hard, but when you live a hard life, your life gets easy. Or when you do hard things, your life just seems easy because you constantly are doing hard things. So like a day-to-day life just seems really easy. And also the other way around, when you just like eat when you think of easy. So just say you wake up, you sit on the couch all day, you don't work, you don't eat healthy, you don't do anything. It's easy to do that because you're so comfortable, you just stay in bed, you just order food, you just do everything. It's all instant gratification. It's so comfortable. But waking up early, eating healthy, getting into the gym, working out, then going to work, and then working really hard to strive for the best version of yourself at work, to then either get promoted or not, or if you love your job and you just want to stay in your position, or you want to get higher so you can apply for better roles. And that's hard. That's living a hard life. But when you do that, like, things happen, and then you were more capable to achieve it. So then if you can think big and always just be striving for more, then everything else just seems like it's a natural part of life. And I have found that the magic of thinking big has been one of the best things for me in my life, because it always redefines my limits and my ability to push myself, because you can always think bigger. So every time I think, I'm like, what would 10x of this look like? Like, if I was like, I want to do this, be like, okay, if I run a mile, what if I ran 10 miles? Or what if I do, like, instead of a 5K, what if I did 10K? It's like you double it. And then you're like, totally possible. Like, I could do that. And then you just, like, build upon that. And then your limits are redefined. And your standards are redefined. And then the next time you're like, man, like, 10K easy. I could do 20K. It's like, it's just, how do you 10X it and then strive for bigger goals? So that's just the one thing where we're thinking small. From what I can tell, there's no real downside to thinking big. Like, I haven't ever found a negative aspect of thinking big, because you think big and then you fail, but then 5 years down the road, you're like, I failed. Oh, well. It's like, okay, next. Like, and it's a lesson that you probably made you so much more skilled or resilient or powerful, because you did that thing. So at the end of the day, even if you fail, it's still a blessing. So it's all good. So thinking big made you better. I feel in my soul that thinking big, like huge, massive goals, massive dreams, is just a good thing for everyone. Because it gives you something to strive to be and work towards. And that doesn't have to be becoming a billionaire. It doesn't have to be becoming a marathon runner. It could just be like, I just want to be the best friend that I can to all of my friends. It's like, I just want to be the best father that I can be. How can I think bigger in being a better father, or a better friend, or a better brother, or a better son, or a better sister? Or like, how can I apply the magic of thinking big into what resonates with me? For me, it's all of it. Like, I want to be the best version of myself in all aspects of my life, and work on constantly trying to teeter that line of balance. And I don't really believe in balance. I just believe you have chapters of things that you focus on and what your priorities are. Like, I feel like I have had chapters where making money is my priority, and that is that's my focus. And then other times I'm like, I want to prioritize my friends and spending time with people. And other times I'm like, all right, my family is my priority. And then other times I'm like, all right, fitness is my priority. And I'm like, okay, no, like, gaining intelligence or building a business is my priority. It's like, there's so many things that I've been able to do in my life because I have applied the concept of thinking big in all aspects. And that's just what I want to contribute today in this podcast episode, is find what avenue you want to think big in, find a goal, and then 10x it and make it bigger than you could possibly imagine. Then reverse engineer and give yourself tiny, small, actionable steps to get to that real magic of thinking big. Like, make it so big that it makes you uncomfortable. It almost makes you uncomfortable to share it because you're like, it's a big goal, but it gives you something to strive for ages. You're like, oh, like, and figure out what your avenue is too. Think about if you want it to be the best father, the best friend, you want to build money, you want to build wealth, you want to have the best physique, you want to be the fastest time marathon runner. It's like, find something and then just strive for it, and then just be relentless and resilient in the journey of getting there, and then kind of stack all those other things with momentum and discomfort and all of that, and like enjoy the journey and love the process. And then all of a sudden you get to it and your limits are redefined, and you think even bigger than that because you became a person more capable of bigger things. So you can always redefine your limits, you can always think bigger, and that's what I wanted to contribute today, is just that magic of big thinking. And that's been really great for me, so I just want to come in and hopefully share some reflections. And this is another episode out of the books, so thanks for tuning in again to Contribution with Connor. Let's get it done, and we're almost to the end of the month, so we just got to cruise through the rest of these podcasts to get to that 21 episodes, and stay tuned for the end of the year. We'll see what we'll get into for my last challenge of the year, and hopefully we get some big goals and some massive thinking, and then next year let's even strive for better and more so we can become more next year. Cheers, guys.